think we are live, but let me check. Yes, looks like it. Let me see if I can hear everything. Sounds like it. Cool. Well, I am. Guys, the Rails Hackathon, and we are going to be building this little project here. Turn down this music a little bit. So we organized a hackathon. It's been a blast, and I am currently working on a project called Signalman. So in Rails, a lot of times you're reading the log files and stuff in development, and the Laravel Telescope library, I guess, is a way for you to view activities that are happening in your Rails app in a UI, drill into them, and all that stuff. So in order to kind of wrap up the project for the hackathon, I'm going to go through and try and design some of this a little bit better in the UI and clean this stuff up. So we're going to dig into that good stuff here. Let me pull up the YouTube comments as well. So I got those. Let's see. Live. Here we go. And pull up those comments stuff. So if you guys want to chat, say hi. But yeah, so what's cool about this is I haven't gotten a ton of the UI work done, but I got the back end connected, and it's super fun because you can like even generate scaffolds in the UI. So you can say like I want a team with a name field. Hey guys, good to see you. So yeah, you can basically like generate a scaffold. It's going to do this in a background process during the request here, do all the usual stuff that you would see on the back end, and then it'll tell you, hey, you just created /teams, and click on that. It'll tell you you want to run the migrations, which you can do, and voila, now we have teams, and we didn't have to touch the command line or anything at all, which should hopefully make Rails a lot more useful for beginners or whatever. So my goal is, to kind of make it easier for beginners. Emma Upno, hey man, just found your Ruby on Rails series a couple of days ago. Videos are really good. You're excellent at explaining things. Is there a general tutorial on Ruby on this channel? Yes. If you go to gorails.com/path, that is where we have the GoRails learning path. So there's actually a level of prerequisites that are things like Ruby. We're going to be adding like a JavaScript for beginners, SQL for beginners, HTML and CSS for beginners, maybe like a Tailwind CSS portion of that or whatever. But basically we're trying to organize into, if you've never used Ruby or Rails before, that's the place to go. And we'll give you, all of those prerequisites and a bunch of Rails applications that we'll build together. So check that out. It is pretty great. We're still working on a lot of that content, but it should be coming out here in the next few weeks too, for JavaScript or whatever else. We're going to be working on that once the hackathon is done. So yeah, this is the Signalman project that I'm working on. I'm going to go and I'll try and bump my fonts up and stuff for anybody streaming along with. But one of the little things I want to do here is basically make this link to target blank. So after you create a scaffold in the UI, this will actually open up in a new tab instead of taking you away from the admin area here. I'm thinking that it would make sense for us to also probably make this a, what is this? Just a paragraph with a bunch of BRs in it. We'll probably want like a pre-tag around these. And maybe we'll do like class font mono, I believe, tailwind CSS, font style, no, font family, font mono, yes, we want that. So a font mono on here, I don't know if this will work with, we're using the tailwind, oh it does, magic, beautiful, okay. So I'm going to experiment with what this looks like in the browser. We will do text extra small. We'll do like maybe a padding of 4, small padding 8, rounded, BG gray 100, something like that, in order to make this look a little different from the rest of the stuff on the page. Kind of look like logs from that command that was run. You know what would be really cool actually is if we also showed you the command that we ran. So we could totally do that. We could say command equals, we've got our command here, our fields, and I guess we are passing those in directly to that, but we could have at fields. Let me shrink this down so you can see more of the code here, and maybe we will also split the windows a little bit differently. But in order to generate a scaffold, we run the Rails generate scaffold command, and it'd be great to be able to display that here in the UI. So if we just said Rails generate scaffold, we can then do params model name and print out at fields and join them with a space. Should work. Then, if we, in our dummy app RailsDB rollback, RailsD scaffold team, that will delete the scaffold or do all of the exact opposite actions. So if we were to come back to generators scaffold, wait, did that? Oh, we got to remove the migration, rmdb migrate teams. Okay. Now we can go back over here. We can say we want to create a team model with a name field, and we'll generate. Then this will now print out string there. Looks like I didn't fully delete everything, so it's also telling us the team is already used. So we will, let me get rid of some of this space. It's a little extravagant. But yeah, this is pretty cool. I'll probably make visit/teams look like a button. Something simple. Nice if we had some button classes to make this a little faster, but you know, here we are. Thanks, Andrea. It's coming along. This morning I added the scaffold generator, so you can do all that, but some of the other things need a lot of, mostly this all needs UI work. I was telling Colin earlier too, like I added routes to some of the Rails built-in features, like the routes, which also discovered that if you search for like scaffold or any of the engine routes, they don't show up. So that's interesting. Never saw that before. But I was thinking about either we recreate these Rails routes and things inside the library, or could embed them like an iframe. Be nicer if we did recreate them, because then we could style them to match or whatever, but you know. Definitely agreed. But it's one of those where it's like, do you really want to like, I don't know. It's a pain. Visually, we'd have to rewrite that stuff, but then what happens in the backend changes, we'd have to keep it in sync, and then we got to be compatible with all the different Rails versions and stuff. So, yeah, more stuff to maintain. Ideally, we don't, but we'll see. That's a later thing. So, anyways, I was gonna walk through. Let's see. Let me go Rails D scaffold team again. I'm gonna clean up all that stuff. Get status. I don't see anything for teams anymore, so we should be good. The other thing I was gonna do was like we can effectively recreate this and make like a, because we can run Rails G and see all of the generators that are available. I was gonna do a few of these, but probably we'll just do model and scaffold. I'd probably use model the most. Maybe job, maybe mailbox, or migration. Migration's a common one. It's a good one too. So maybe we'll just do model and scaffold for now, but I think easiest process for that will just be copy scaffolds, models, we'll have the show, generate model path. It's basically going to be the same except for the backend. So we'll copy this, models controller, and instead of that, we will run model, and then our create is going to be a little bit different because our create HTML is not going to need a link to that because we're not generating any URLs if we generate a model. So we'll just say model and fields. And routes, probably the last thing. And the navbar. So we'll say generate scaffold, model, scaffold. How many characters is that? Like 8. Model. Kind of thinking this background gray is a little harsh. Maybe we'll just go to either gray background on the side, or we could do like a white background with like it's not too bad. I don't know. We need to add some links to highlight those. Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn on it. The dark background just feels very blue. We've added dark mode to Jumpstart Pro recently, and now when I see BG Gray 900, it's like feels more like BG Blue. Because neutral gray, maybe I'll just do that. BG neutral. Yeah, slate and neutral are a lot more similar. What is that? I always build my own, but I'm trying to remember what the Rails like nav helper thing is. There's a way to select I don't remember. I always copy this from my other apps. I thought there was link to unless current is what I was thinking of. Shout out to Matt Swanson's blog. And this is always super weird because the link to unless block is not like content for it. Always confused. Yeah, current page allows you to choose the controller in action, which should be good enough for what we need in the sidebar for highlighting things. Because that, when we go into the nested routes and stuff, it's fine. Check parameters. False. Link to unless current. Creates a link tag of the given name unless the current URI is the same as the links, in which case, or is this going to require you to do like controller and maybe we can just pass in controller? Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to make it look pretty before the end of the day, but yeah, this seems like the weeds. So let's work on the actual, like, for example, this nonsense. Um, Requests and all of those do not have any good views for anything yet. So maybe we'll just work on the show pages. One thing I would love to pull out, and right now we don't do, but it'd be cool if we could either ask the request for the current user ID without having to do like an integration or whatever into um, Warden and stuff, or I don't know if there's another way we could detect like current.user, but again, probably more stuff to do in the future. Yeah, so I guess let's try and print out some of this stuff on like the request show. I think that's probably going to be the biggest, most useful page to work on. So we want the method, which is at event payload method. Let's div around these. Method get status path. And then let's see, probably params. Assume params is in here. Yep, cool. It'll be interesting to do like a file upload or something. That'll be, I'm not sure how that'll render the the action dispatch uploaded file object or whatever that gets converted to JSON somehow. Probably like the Rails log, show the controller action. Yeah, good call. We can just put the action next to it, probably. Cool. Yes, it should include the query param. So if we hit slash foo bar, then the foo bar will be in there. This is actually the instrumentation stuff that I'm saving in the database. The instrumentation stuff used to print this info out in your log file. So we should have access to all that same data as long as we convert it to JSON and store it in the payload. We'll have everything, which is sweet. We can't convert the entire request because there's some infinite loop things going on there, which is, a blast. All right. Never did figure out the duration piece, but I'm going to put some of that stuff in here. I'm not sure why, because the instrumentation event has like a start and end time, but when we receive that and then we take a second to write this stuff to the database, then the Rails logs see in a different event end time, which doesn't make any sense, but it shouldn't have changed in between those, but you know, that's how it goes. Duration is a field right directly on there, and this will be in milliseconds. And we're going to round just like Rails does. And then probably getting about to the point where we should print out like the headers. And this stuff we may want in a pre-tag or something. Because there's going to be multiple lines. Something like that. Where are they? Headers. It's a hash of key and values, so we should maybe just print out that event, payload, headers, each do key value, key value. Let's see, that probably is going to look a little wonky in the pre-tag. Oh well, we'll just, for now. Oh, I tabbed it over beautifully, actually. Not on purpose, but that'll work. Script name, empty. I am specifically grabbing the HTTP prefix stuff. And possibly there's other things we'll want to do with it. Maybe we'll want to hide like the cookie or move it into a different section and display cookies separately. But for now, this is probably fine. One of the hacks I did was to add in the action dispatch request ID. Specifically, this is the ID that you see in the Rails logs. So I wanted to make sure that was there. I guess we should probably sort these headers alphabetically. Let's see, can you sort? You can't really sort a hash. So I guess we would convert to an array and then sort by key, I guess. Script name, array. I'm guessing that key there is, well, we probably can't reference it. This is the individual for header dot first string was 0 failed. Huh? Let me look up hash sort keys. Ruby. Oh, I didn't know there was a sort on the hash itself. Is that? Whoa. Every day, Ruby is magic. Holy moly, that worked. Wow. Very awesome. Cool. A few other things. We should probably display the format, HTML, TurboStream, yada, yada, yada. That'd be useful to know. We do have the start and finish times, which may be useful. It's mostly useful here on like the happened, but I guess we could display that too. Happened, started at. Then on our controller, we could say, or maybe just add a format here. Format. Definitely useful to have the DB in the view runtime, so we'll print those out too. Maybe next to duration, and have at event payload DB runtime dot round, and that's typically printed out as views, active record, and allocations. So we could do I think I have allocations in there as well, but or maybe not. I think that may be something I need to add. Allocations, I believe, are included somewhere in the instrumentation. So I think this event object, yeah, it just has allocations on it. I also would like to add CPU time and idle time, which is cool. So you can see like the total time that was used, but how much of it was like actively using the CPU during that, which is neat. But then, yeah, allocations would be useful to have too, just so that you can search by that or whatever else that you might want to do. Find a slow thing. One of the things I do want to do is if our duration is, more than 200 milliseconds for a request, we could highlight that in like yellow, or maybe if it's over 500 milliseconds, it's red or something. So we could just like quickly on the index page here be like, good, 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 bad, or good, 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 warning, danger, things like that. Just kind of real quick see highlight of all that stuff. Oh, the status 200. Okay, this is something that I wanted to do. And I saw this on the GitHub. So this is sweet. If you look at the log subscriber in Rails, you will see, there we go. You will see all of the log formats that actually get rendered out in your Rails logs. So this is a little class that has some functionality that will attach to a different thing, a different gem name, and we'll call methods like redirect dot action dispatch is what you would register manually. This will do that for you automatically. Any public method here gets attached to the correct action dispatch, and then it calls these automatically for you. It's sweet. Or I guess subscribe log level will do the connection there for you, but same deal. So this rack utils HTTP status codes will give us the name of that status, which is sweet. So if we go up here to status, we can have that, but instead it will be at event payload status. And now we should see a 200 OK on here. 200 OK, beautiful. I like seeing these status codes, so we're going to put those on the index as well. We'll move that into its own line. In order to make these layout nicely, you'll see that I use Tailwind for displaying the content like a table, but without using a table. So a link to can be clickable on the entire row, which is something you cannot do in an HTML table, which is dumb and annoying, but it's the world we live in. Okay, 200 okay, 500 internal server error, beautiful. We could even add badges for those too, which would be cool, but let's not worry too much about that. I do think I want to make a badge for the durations, so might do that real quick. We'll do an event helper badge for request duration, and if duration is less than or equal to 200, you can do a duration less than or equal to maybe 500 for the warning, and otherwise we'll do a, wait, let's see. If it's greater than, then yeah. So this will be basically a green or a gray. This will be yellow or an orange, and this will be a red because it will be been over 500 milliseconds. So for this, I'm thinking we tag.div, we're going to take a block in, close this, and we'll do, excuse me, what we want to see here, badge for request duration, event duration. Actually, we could just put all this stuff in there, just give it the event duration, and then we can have tag.div or span. This will be the duration rounded, or do we maybe we want to pass the rounded duration into this? It doesn't really matter. Milliseconds, this will be class bg red 100, text red 800, rounded text maybe extra small. For yellow, we can do either yellow or orange, probably yellow. We'll do green, green. Badge for request duration. This is one of the annoying things about writing this gem, that stuff's not auto-reloaded yet in development, so. Okay, not bad. Need to add a little padding, but getting there. This might be better to be gray because we don't need to emphasize, or neutral maybe, as we had earlier discussed. Wait, I meant to put a padding on here. So what is a P X1, PY 0.5 something? Or maybe a 1 and a 2? I have no idea. Let's try it. See what happens. That's not bad. I like it. Can refactor that into something reusable later, but yeah, cool. I do wonder if our duration should move over, or maybe we just need more padding in between these rows, because it's hard to tell, or we need like a divider, because it's harder to tell what's, like right here, 459, which page are we looking at? Visually, it's too wide, so a little divider would be great. Divide, wide, divide, gray 100. Hello, Bueller? Where does the divide maybe not work with tables? Divide Y is not here at all. Tailwind, CSS. Divide Y, divide dashed, divide solid. Do we need divide solid? I don't think I've had to do that, but that was the default. Divide color. Our colors, good. Divide Y, yeah, see? Divide Y. Border, top width, bottom width. It seems like that should work. But it could be the tables messing with it, maybe? Let's look at what their display table. For these examples, let's look at the actual HTML they did. Yeah, see they got borders directly on every table cell, so I'm betting that's it. There's like no borders on a table row or row group or whatever. Ugh, tables. I hate them. And that was on every single table cell. Don't love it. Oh well. If that's what we gotta do, that's what we gotta do. So we'll say border B, border neutral 100. Yeah, very subtle. But we should also do a padding. I'm pretty sure they have P4 around those. So we should do a padding of P2 or something. We don't need that much space. Something visual. Alright, that's not bad. We can add the same up here for these table cells. Looking much, much better. Now we can visually, quickly glance and see, okay, we're talking about this one or that one. So the show page, hide this inspect or put it at the bottom. You can do, heck, you know what? Might cheat a little bit and do a prose around this. Oh yeah, nice. Maybe change the width up though to use a full screen, but having the prose here is excellent. Maybe we'll put the ID here at event ID. Might not hurt to put that in there, or we do the request ID, the action dispatch request ID could be up there. Not a bad idea either. All right, let's look up pros. Question, hey Chris, I've over 1 years of experience in Rails development. I want to go deeper into the core library concepts of the framework. I'm seeking a roadmap or guidance, like from where should I start? Really good question. Rails is very complicated, and it's really useful if you just like, from my experience, I've just gone into certain things and try and figure out where it's defined. So like this weekend, I've never looked at how the Rails logs get generated. So I looked for the word completed in the Rails source code and then read through that. So if you search for that, you can find in here somewhere, right here, completed status code, event duration round in milliseconds. And that gives me an idea then of like where that's defined. And then I can go into other things and look at like, what is this log subscriber, active support log subscriber? So we would look at log subscriber in active support and take a look at that class and just read through the docs and then read through the source code because it's usually way simpler than you might expect. For example, these are, there's built-in terminal colors into Rails that you may not have ever realized. Um, all kinds of little helpers in here that you can maybe copy into your own applications if you need or whatever. But yeah, all kinds of stuff. So for me, that's been how I do it. I will go and read through different things. I will pick a specific feature, like maybe Rails generators, and I'll try and override or add a feature to the scaffolds, which requires me to go figure out where is that defined? How does that work? Where would I hook in? How would I do that? And that's usually the best way I've had to learn that stuff. May not apply for everybody, but that has worked for me. Andrea, I'm going to need to hear this idea for your project. Okay, that's nice. Very nice. Let me see if I can tab my headers over. Beautiful. Maybe we'll say H4 headers. Pretty good. Can go format some of this stuff a little nicer. So typically we're going to have like the method name next to that, and maybe we would say this is an H3 or something, because the main thing we want is we want to know what route we're on. This is probably like a text extra small or something, if we're going to show when the request happened, something small and simple for that. We could maybe do like a class margin bottom of 2 or something, less than the normal. This has a pretty high margin top as well, so we could do like margin top of 2. And then we could maybe say processed by the controller name and action. I'm going to put params here under that. Responded with 200 OK. And maybe we'll go up here and put the sort of Rails-y format where it's like put the format up next to the, maybe upcase that even. I'm no designer, but it's helpful if you can, you know what, let's take params out and put it down by headers, and let's do a H4 params. maybe a pre around that. Possibly we could do pretty print. Ruby pretty print. Always forget how to do that with a hash, but I thought you could do that in a, maybe this would work better, but let me see. So if we were to grab that hash IRB, oh, it didn't put it on multiple lines. Never mind. I'm thinking of some other library or tool or something for pretty print. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that'll work for now. I think we're putting too much emphasis probably on the request. Since that's the H1, we may just want to like, I don't think we care at all what the request ID is, and honestly then that would mean that this this should become the H1, and we'll just move that to the very top and say Rails routes as HTML. We could have this with a MB2. I feel like this maybe deserves an H4, and it's like processed by, or maybe we get rid of that text or whatever and just do a pre-tag around this. I know I feel like I'm getting a little bit lazy just throwing pre-tags everywhere, but yeah, I don't know that we need the request ID, or it's really just the event ID from there, and you can just grab it from the URL, and we'll probably have like a copy button if we do need that, but I'm thinking the more useful ID is this one, the Action Dispatch Request ID. So yeah, I'm not sure. The only useful thing for that request number is really that. So I don't know. Maybe we just put that. We could extract that out and put it in this next to the started or something. But I'm thinking the other thing let's just throw stuff at it with another pre-tag, just because I have no more design skills than that. We'll just say response 200 OK. Duration could probably go up in the process by section. Maybe as like a text small, maybe a gray. What does Rails say for the logs? Completed in oops. Not bad. I mean, I feel like this emphasizes the majority of things we want to see. Maybe we need to stuff the DB runtime and view runtimes in there. Well, I guess we got that already. So findable. Most of this stuff is going to be headers left. It's probably all the content we really have for that. So we can get rid of that inspect and move on to our other like jobs and stuff. We can apply the same styles from when we go to the index. I'm wondering if I should just throw prose in the application HTML ERB. Just throw it here. Pros and max width none. And then our show. Everything looks so much better with pros on it. Get rid of that div. Or we still kind of want a div around this content, I believe. Or no, we don't need that. Yeah, because we got the flash up above. So that would simplify our HTML quite a bit. This looks significantly better minus all the underscores everywhere. That's the one thing that annoys the crap out of me with the pros. Can you change that, I wonder? Is that a config? Oh, pros neutral. I didn't know you could do that. That's cool. Pros A. Yeah, let's see. Oh, sick. Okay. Does that override it completely, or do we have to... Yeah, so now we get both. But no underline. Neat. Okay, wow. I never knew that was a thing, but it makes sense, and that is badass. Wow. Okay, cool. I think request is done enough for me to be happy with it, so let's go over to jobs. Jobs isn't looking bad. What's up, Nelson? Good to see you. Go to jobs index and requests index. So mostly this crap for every one of those. We had to add, what else? Just that table cell stuff. Okay. It's manageable. Everything's very bold. Is that the same on? I guess it was the same on request. Is the font computed as font weight 500? Okay. Well, I did mean to add the interfont, and I did not yet, but I should. Not worried about that. Let's go to our job show. At event dot payload name. Or is it just event name? Nope. What am I looking at anyways? Class. Payload class. There we go. Okay. So we will have in here a few things. We are going to need, maybe we'll put the started at or happened at or something like that. Started at. We'll do an H4. These jobs can, I think there's like 2 events that we record, maybe just the one, but the jobs can be, well, there's a few different events, like enqueuing at a specific time, enqueuing to run as soon as possible, actually executing the job, and a few other things, and I forget what all we're actually listening to. So we'll just start with displaying whatever information we got. Queued at, scheduled at. Queue name. And the big one, arguments. Sweet. Maybe we'll write the word nil or something like that. Be kind of nice. I'm going to remove that pretty print that doesn't do anything over there for params. If anybody knows, let me know if there's a way to pretty print a hash where it's like the curly brace and then every key and value on a single line. So it inserts new lines for each of those. We could build our own pretty easily by doing a loop through keys and values. But if you've got something that'll do it, and we don't have to build something, if it's built in at least, then let me know. But for now, I think we're good. Cool. Got our jobs. Go to our mail next, I guess. And then queries will be a good one as well to dig into. So we'll go to mails. Maybe while we're here, let's hit up queries index. I don't think we even have the header for that. I was trying to experiment previously with broadcasting these live with turbo streams, but took that out just for simplicity for this weekend. Same thing. Views needs actual layout for the index. So we'll start here. Mail looks good. Go to mail show. This will be our @event payload. We have the content of the email, which is great. That is under mail, but we want mailer and probably, oh no, where is that? It says the mailer, user mailer. Do they not give us the method? No way. This is my discovery, is that active support instrumentation is not near as complete as it should be. Mailer, name of the mailer class. See? Yeah. Our process action mailer has welcome email. But see, this doesn't have any of the information. You give it the arguments and maybe the params, I'm not sure, but it doesn't return you the email or anything, like the final information of the to and from. So it's like the action should be included in deliver action mailer, and then I don't know what this is for. It would also be very helpful if these had better descriptions of each of the instrumentation events, because the event doesn't really necessarily describe exactly what's going on. This is like, when is it? Is it before it's processed, when it starts processing? It's definitely not after it's processed, because if it was, we should have this information. Um, and then we don't have a way to connect the two. So that was the thing that I realized with the requests and the views. There's no association to them, and it makes sense that there's not always a request for a rendering of a partial or a view, because you could do those with like render to string. You could render in a turbo broadcast in the background. There's not always a request, but there's no way for us to tie the request to the views that it rendered with the built-in instrumentation. So these are like very sort of incomplete or something. I'm not impressed. I thought this would be way better. So, anyways, yeah. Well, I guess we will just print out some of this information that we've got and call it good enough. It's a little disappointing. So let's do payload mailer. So what? We'll have an H4, and this will be message ID probably. At event payload message ID. We'll just grab a bunch of these other things. So we'll say like the subject to from. We have the date. Perform deliveries is true. So what does that even mean? If deliver action mailer gets called with perform deliveries is false, what does that mean? What happened? I guess maybe the mail content. All right. Well, we'll start filling this stuff out as we go. So we'll say, and I guess too, the time for the date and our event time should be about the same, I assume. Maybe not. I have no idea. This is wild. From to subject and our mail. And I'm going to grab from the show the same started at. We'll just put that consistently at the top for all of these. User mailer, subject notification. There's our email content. Beautiful. Look at that. We ended up building like an email interceptor thing. It was cool. Yeah. Yeah, this is another one where like the Rails logs can print out where a you can have the Rails logs print out like this query was generated by this line of code. It'd be killer if that was included in the instrumentation, because it's not, and we have no information about any of that stuff. So one of these days. Yeah, be cool. We could totally like, I guess, could you just put an iframe and just stuff that content right in there? I guess, maybe. I don't know. Never tried that. And strip out the headers and strip out the content for the HTML type at least. But I want to see if it works. Iframe. I've always done an iframe with like a source, but I've never just put in HTML into one. And it does not appear. It's raw text that doesn't appear to be rendered or something. Yeah, because it's not inside the body. There it is. I don't know. Never tried that, but maybe I got to get rid of the body too. I don't know. That doesn't seem like it would be very useful. All right. We tried. We failed. Move on to queries. All right, so queries was the one we wanted to work on the index page and add our table row group for the, or a header group. And this is pretty much the SQL. And that's it. Duration and when it happened. Okay, cool. Yeah. I may want to get rid of this SQL here. So everyone has a name, active record, migration, schema migration pluck. So we actually filter out any of the ones that are generated by Signalman itself. So those are not polluting this and also creating infinite loops. But we may want to do something with this to also get rid of the schema migrations pluck. This is mostly just going to happen when you boot your app up for development the first time. It's going to like load all that stuff and check. But right now they're there. Maybe remove them, but for now I think we're good. So here we'll say, I think this one we're not going to put the query in the, no, actually what we can do is we've got, instead of the query, we can do the name. So we'll say at event payload name. There we go. Great. H4, our SQL. Pre at event payload squeal. Binds and stuff is useful because if you're doing like a where user ID is 1, that'll be included in the binds because the SQL will show the placeholders for them. Typecasted binds. If you're using statements, maybe we'll just leave it empty, honestly. And then the last thing was async. Cool. What was it? Class MB2. That's what we're doing for the bottom margin on those. Mails show. Queries show. Requests show. Views is the last one. Then I guess we want to style our generators. Actually, they look pretty good. We could use some button functionality there, or styling, but not bad. This will look good enough for the hackathon. Alright, so let's grab all this stuff and then work our way backwards. Say views. If I remember right, there's not a lot of information on this either. It was literally the layout and the identifier. And that was pretty much it for any of these. So action view, instrumentation was identifier, layout, identifier count, cache hits, and identifier, and that's it. So there's really almost no information at all on these, which is a little unfortunate. It's kind of nice to see the middleware here. Maybe we'll add that as a future feature, or someone wants to make a PR, they can do that with us. So this one, the views is a little bit different than the other ones, at least right now. Jobs will probably become a little bit different, where we might have the event name in the index page, so we know if it was like in queued or processed or whatever. and we'd be able to see that all together. So the views is sort of the same thing, where we say like render template, render layout, render whatever. And if we look at these, it's like, okay, you rendered the message and suggestions. Let me render this template here. We can see if that should become the very first here. Web console. Let's check our logs. See, that should have, when we requested, we requested foobar, SQL active record, process action controller. But these rendering layouts did not match. That could be an issue with our Signalman. I changed the code here a little bit. Let's just work on the views real fast and get those working. So we'll have the identifier, and we'll have the maybe the type, and we'll print out for first one, the type, that's going to be the event.name split on the period, the first, and we may humanize that. So then that will print out like render template, render layout, etc. Then we'll have identifier. And get rid of this and keep the badge for duration. Views index. So we want to get rid of this. We have to add pagey in here soon. Okay, so we can see which template we're rendering. What we might do is look at if it includes Rails root or something, we could truncate that, because I think these are like always, this is, I think this is just not collecting some of the stuff. So let's finish this real fast. We, in our show, pretty much want same deal as request show, so we'll grab these two lines. This will be our name split period first humanize under template, or maybe we'll titleize it. But H4, we'll say identifier free at event payload identifier free. And we had like a few options for those. We had layout, count, and cache hits. So layout, count, and these aren't going to be available on every single thing. So some of those will be missing. We can conditionally display those if it makes sense, if it's got the key. So we could basically, if at event payload has key, layout, something like that, it should render template, render layout should hide it. Yeah, because template will have a layout potentially. And then we can do the same for these. Okie dokie. Layout's JavaScript, layout. I think that's it. We'll need to build some examples for that, but here's like a render collection. And it has a count. Let me put the event inspect here. Yeah, it has count, layout, no. Cool, okay. So then on views, let's go and see if we can figure out what broke on our Signalman instrumentation. So the way that this is all defined right now is we have these keys and values. And so we take these and we say subscribe to events that match that name. So in this case, whatever action view, we'll go to the handler, which is our view handler. Our view handler will skip anything that includes in the identifier Signalman. So we may want to throw a binding IRB in there and see like why is that not rendering sometimes or whatever. But in general, it's supposed to be called every. That's case. What happened to the music? My headphones die or something? So maybe we will put a event print here. Because when we go into our application, we want to render. Oh, wait, we're going to have to restart. And then refresh our page. And we should see. Oh, did that not refresh? There we go. Okay, so we see active support notifications event, name, not compile template? Huh. Render template? I'm not sure what this bang is. I've never seen that in the... Render template, virtual path, main index. Huh. Virtual path. So, yeah. What we want to do is we want to be able to grab these and we want to see that that's being recorded. So, oh, you know what? We're skipping all of those because because we're working on the Signalman test dummy app, so it has excluded itself. So what we want is we want not that, but we want to skip whenever we view one of these pages inside of Signalman. So when we do that, you'll see that we're rendering these views. For example, Signalman app views. Maybe that's what we need is like skip the app views Signalman. Instead of anything, Signalman. That might be better. Let's get rid of that print too. And then we should see if we refresh this. We now get a render layout and render template. Yay! Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, cool. What is this virtual path? I don't even know. Render template action view. Render template action view. It says identifier and layout, but it doesn't say anything about virtual path. In the docs, at least. So virtual path is apparently something. I'm also not sure. I'm going to have to look into this, but this bang or this exclamation mark. So we've inserted that exclamation mark render template action view, but there's regular render template action view. And it looks like we're recording, both of those, but what is the difference? And then the second one does not have the virtual path in it. So I'm not sure where that comes from or why that is, and maybe we can figure that out next week or something. But that at least fixes our bug for the most part, and maybe we do like, because right now we have dot plus, and we could maybe say it does not start with a, or even we could do a /w plus for our matches. Because then if you said render template, we'd have to check if it starts with that. But if you did render template, it would work. So maybe we'll do some fine tuning here of our regexes. I used to have this as actually just strings for each and duplicated all the action view ones, but I didn't want to have to implement them a bunch of times. So this will be maybe better. We'll do the same for active job. Oops. /w active job. Okay. Now I made a ton of changes, and we should go through and add all these and commit them. And then maybe I will take a break for lunch. So I added a little bit of JavaScript so that our dummy application could use Turbo. I also set up Redis in there so we could like test if in the future if we want to do the broadcasting and insert those records visually in the UI live. We could totally do that. Here's an example of where like I did all the active job names, and maybe we want to make those dynamic and do a like query or something instead. So for now, on the database side, they are hard-coded strings, but we will probably want to adjust that. Yeah, lots of things. And lots of other stuff here too. So generators, controllers, the helpers, all that stuff, user mailers and all that. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm going to just add everything and say git commit. Maybe this is like, yeah, mostly functional. I don't know. Something like that. Git commit. We're looking pretty good on this. So if anybody wants to play with this is on github.com/exit3 Signalman. You will want to use from the main branch on GitHub instead of what's published on Ruby Gems, because I just reserved the gem name. I haven't published any of this yet because it's not really been functional until now, but we're looking pretty solid. You can generate your... Oh, maybe we could do prose on the sidebar too. Maybe that's too big. But being able to generate models and scaffolds and whatever has been pretty sweet. So, yes, I think I'm going to stop the stream here. We'll come back after lunch and maybe stream some more, work on this some more before we get around to the end of the Rails Hackathon this weekend. We're going to be live streaming starting at 6 for wrapping up. So we're going to just hang out for a little while we have an hour left. When it finishes, we'll probably chat with some people who have finished their apps, if they want to talk about how their weekend went, how their project went, stumbling blocks, things that went really well. I'd love to hear all those things. So, yeah, let us know. I just realized the durations are using the template rendering is using the same like badges. We'll have to change and adjust those badge thresholds for views and maybe jobs even. I don't know. Maybe they're just gray for everything that's not requests. I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that out. But yeah, we'll be back after lunch. Catch you guys in a little while.